The company's biggest live stream launch was happening. 200 employees in the studio. Thousands of viewers watching online. Everything was going perfectly until I noticed the problem. Server load was spiking dangerously. We were about to crash. I had to say something. Had to warn someone. Had to stop this before it was too late. My boss Blake Sterling was speaking to the camera. Confident. Charismatic. Telling viewers about our revolutionary new platform. I stepped forward. Interrupted him mid-sentence. Blake, the servers can't handle this traffic spike. We need to pause. He turned toward me. Smiled. That cold smile I had learned to fear. Some people confuse technical support with leadership, he said loudly. Making sure everyone heard. Making sure the cameras caught it. Then he gestured to the producer. Mute his mic. My microphone cut off instantly. I tried speaking. Tried warning them again. Tried explaining the danger. But no sound came through. Just my lips moving silently while 200 coworkers watched. While thousands of viewers saw me looking desperate. Looking foolish. Looking unstable. The live stream continued. Blake kept talking. Kept smiling. Kept ignoring every warning sign. 47 seconds later, the entire stream crashed. Black screen. Error messages. Complete system failure. Panic erupted immediately. Engineers scrambling. Producers shouting. Viewers flooding chat with confusion. Blake turned toward me. Pointed. Voice full of contempt. This is what happens when people spread negativity. Security appeared beside me. Hands on my shoulders. Escorting me out. 200 coworkers avoided eye contact as I was walked through the studio. Through the hallways. Out of the building. Out of the company. Out of everything I had built. I had not even reached the parking garage when my phone started buzzing. System alerts. Password reset notifications. Account lockouts. My company Slack account was disabled. Email access revoked. Cloud permissions removed. Everything gone in minutes. I tried logging in repeatedly. Different passwords. Different devices. Nothing worked. I texted coworkers. People I had worked with for years. People I had trained personally. People who owed their jobs to my recommendations. Nobody responded. Complete silence. Radio silence. Then the email arrived. From HR's subject line, regarding today's incident. They were accusing me of disruptive behavior during a public event. Claiming I had created an unsafe work environment. Claiming I had damaged company property through negligence. Attached was a video clip. 14 seconds long. Heavily edited. It showed me interrupting Blake. Showed me gesturing frantically. Showed me looking unstable. But it was cut perfectly. Cut to make me look crazy. Cut to hide my warnings. Cut to erase the crash that proved I was right. I watched it 3 times. Getting angrier each time. Getting more helpless each time. Then I noticed something. Something small. Something they had missed. At the bottom of the email, the file metadata was visible. The video file properties. Creation date. Edit timestamp. And it showed something impossible. The video had been edited before the live stream even happened. Before I interrupted Blake. Before anything went wrong. They had prepared this. Had planned this. Had created evidence of my instability before I did anything wrong. This was not a reaction. This was a setup. And I had walked right into it. My name was Tyler Hayes. 34 years old. I had been the lead audio engineer for the company since it was barely a startup. Back when there were only 12 of us working out of a cramped office. Back when Blake was still pretending to care about building something real. Back when we actually believed in the mission. I had helped build everything. The live stream infrastructure. The audio systems. The backup protocols. The emergency procedures. Everything that made the company function. I had trained more than half the current staff. Had mentored junior engineers. Had covered for leadership mistakes countless times. Had worked nights and weekends to keep systems running. The company had grown from 12 employees to a multi-million-dollar media company. Blake had become the flashy face. The charismatic leader. The person investors saw. But everyone behind the scenes knew the truth. Knew I kept things running. Knew I solved the real problems. Knew Blake took credit for work he did not understand. And that was the problem. That was the real issue. That was why Blake hated me. Because investors had started trusting my judgment more than his. Started asking my opinion on technical decisions. Started wanting me in strategy meetings. Blake could not stand it. Could not handle someone else being valued. Could not accept that technical expertise mattered as much as charisma. So he had been looking for a way to get rid of me. Looking for an excuse. Looking for an opportunity. And I had given him one. By trying to save his live stream. By warning him publicly. By making him look like he did not know what he was doing. I had sealed my own fate. And he had been ready. Had been prepared. Had been waiting for exactly this moment. 3 days after being escorted out, I met a coworker named Amber at a diner across town. She had texted me from a burner phone. Said she had something I needed to see. Said it was important. Said I should not tell anyone we were meeting. She looked nervous when she arrived. Kept checking over her shoulder. Kept her phone face down on the table. "Tyler, you need to know what happened after you left," she said quietly. She explained that Blake had held an emergency meeting. All senior staff. No recordings allowed. Or so he thought. He blamed the crash entirely on you. Said you had sabotaged the system. Said you were unstable and dangerous. I was not surprised. I had expected that. But then Amber slid her phone across the table. Someone recorded it anyway. I put in her earbuds. Pressed play. Blake's voice came through clearly. Arrogant. Unfiltered. Honest in ways he never was publicly. Tyler warned me about the servers 3 times before the launch. I ignored him because delaying would have looked weak. Made me look incompetent. I couldn't have that. Then his voice got harder. Colder. More calculated. I need everyone to understand something. Anyone still loyal to Tyler needs to be isolated. I want to know who talks to him. Who supports him. Who questions what happened. Those people are not team players. The recording continued for another minute. Blake giving specific instructions. Telling managers to monitor staff. Telling HR to prepare documentation. Telling leadership to build a narrative. This was not damage control. This was conspiracy. This was coordination. This was proof that my firing had been planned. Had been orchestrated. Had been executed perfectly. "Keep this recording," Amber whispered. "You're going to need it." The 14-second clip of me getting muted leaked online the next day. I did not know who posted it initially. Did not know if it was intentional or accidental. Did not know if it helped or hurt me. At first, people mocked me. Made jokes about the crazy employee. Created memes about interrupting your boss. Shared it with captions like, "When you think you know better than leadership." The humiliation was total. Complete. Overwhelming. My face was everywhere. My failure was entertainment. My worst moment was going viral. I stopped looking at social media. Stopped reading comments. Stopped torturing myself with strangers laughing at my pain. But then something changed. Internet detectives started examining the clip more carefully. Started noticing details. Started asking questions. Someone posted a freeze frame of Blake's face right before I spoke. His expression was not surprised. Was not annoyed. Was smug. Like he had been expecting something. Like he had been waiting for it. Another person noticed that Blake looked at the producer before ordering my mic cut. Like it had been discussed. Like it had been planned. The comments slowly shifted. From ridicule to curiosity. From mockery to outrage. Former employees started posting cryptic stories. Vague references to toxic culture. Hints about silenced voices. Questions about other incidents. Blake responded publicly. Posted a statement calling me emotionally unstable. Claiming I had a history of disruptive behavior. Claiming the company had tried to help me. Claiming this was about my personal issues, not his leadership. The statement was professional. Carefully worded. Legally reviewed. And it made me look worse. Made me look like the problem. Made me look like everything he said I was. But it also made people more curious. More suspicious. More willing to dig deeper. A legal letter arrived at my apartment. Thick envelope. Law firm letterhead. Threatening language on every page. They were threatening lawsuits if I spoke publicly about the company. Claiming I had signed NDAs. Claiming I had confidentiality obligations. Claiming any public statement would constitute breach of contract. The letter outlined potential damages. Financial penalties. Legal costs. Reputational harm. Everything designed to scare me into silence. But buried in the middle, hidden among legal jargon, was something terrifying. A clause I had never noticed before. Never questioned. Never understood. The company claimed ownership over every project I had ever created. Every system I had built. Every innovation I had developed. Including systems I had built before working there. Including personal projects. Including code I had written on my own time. They were claiming everything. All my work. All my expertise. All my value. As their property. I almost backed down. Almost deleted everything. Almost accepted defeat. Then Amber contacted me again. Through encrypted messaging. Through anonymous channels. Through methods that could not be traced. Blake is preparing layoffs. 15 people. All experienced engineers. All people who questioned him. He's cutting everyone who might challenge his authority. She sent documentation. Budget reports. Layoff lists. Executive compensation packages. Blake was eliminating experienced staff while giving himself a massive bonus. $3 million. For leading the company through a crisis he had created. The hypocrisy was stunning. The corruption was obvious. The betrayal was complete. And suddenly, the NDA threats did not scare me anymore. Because staying silent meant letting him win. Meant letting good people lose their jobs. Meant letting corruption continue unchecked. I made a decision. A risky decision. A dangerous decision. I was going to fight back. And I was going to use every tool I had. While backing up files from an old external hard drive, I discovered something I had forgotten existed. An admin archive from the company's early days. When I had helped set up the initial infrastructure. When I had admin access to everything. When Blake had trusted me completely. The archive contained years of internal recordings. Deleted reports. Executive messages. Performance reviews. Employee complaints. Everything the company had tried to hide. Most of it was routine. Normal business operations. Standard communications. But one folder caught my attention. A folder labeled, Containment. I opened it carefully. Not knowing what to expect. Inside were files documenting how leadership systematically silenced employees who questioned Blake. Pattern after pattern. Incident after incident. Year after year. An engineer who questioned a product decision was reassigned. A manager who pushed back on budget cuts was demoted. A producer who suggested alternative strategies was fired. Each case was documented. Each person was isolated. Each voice was eliminated. The documentation showed coordination. HR working with executives. Managers implementing directives. Legal preparing defenses. My firing was not random. Was not personal. Was not unique. It was a pattern. A system. A deliberate strategy for eliminating dissent. And I had just become the latest victim. The latest person who dared to question. The latest voice that needed to be silenced. But I had something the others did not have. Evidence. Documentation. Proof. And I knew exactly how to use it. Not immediately. Not recklessly. But strategically. Carefully. When the moment was right. When the impact would be maximum. When the truth would be undeniable. A competing media company reached out privately. Through LinkedIn. Through careful wording. Through messages that could not be traced back to active recruitment. Their CEO sent a direct message. Brief. Professional. Intriguing. We've been hearing your name for years. People in the industry respect your work. We have a senior position available if you're interested. They offered details. Senior engineering lead. Competitive salary. Equity. Creative control. Everything Blake had never given me. But there was a condition. A requirement. A test. We need to know if the startup systems are as unstable as rumored. We need someone who can assess their infrastructure honestly. Someone who knows it from the inside. Accepting meant risking everything. Meant potentially violating NDAs. Meant making myself a bigger target. But it also meant leverage. Meant options. Meant not being helpless. That same night at 2 a.m., my apartment building's fire alarm triggered. Loud. Sudden. Unexpected. Residents evacuated into the cold. Standing outside in pajamas. Confused. Annoyed. I followed protocols. Went outside. Waited for clearance. But while standing there, I noticed something. A car parked across the street. Engine running. Someone sitting inside. Phone pointed toward the building. Pointed toward where I was standing. Taking photos. Taking video. Documenting. When I started walking toward the car, it drove away quickly. No license plate visible in the darkness. No way to identify the driver. No proof it was connected. But I knew. Knew Blake was watching. Knew he was tracking me. Knew he wanted to intimidate me into staying quiet. The message was clear. Stop investigating. Stop collecting evidence. Stop being a problem. Or face consequences. The intimidation was obvious. Clumsy. Desperate. And it told me something important. Blake was scared. Really scared. Because people who are winning do not need to threaten. Do not need to intimidate. Do not need to watch your apartment at 2 a.m. They only do that when they are losing. When they are vulnerable. When they are afraid. Anonymous emails started arriving the next week. From addresses I did not recognize. Through encrypted channels. Through anonymous servers. Screenshots of internal Slack messages. Payroll records showing budget allocations. Deleted messages from executive channels. Someone inside the company was feeding me information. Someone who had access. Someone who wanted Blake exposed. Someone who was taking serious risks. One message was particularly direct. Simple. Clear. Frightening. He's scared of you. You're all anyone talks about internally. Morale is collapsing. People are questioning everything. The emails included evidence I could never have gotten alone. Internal communications showing Blake's strategy. He was secretly replacing experienced employees with social media influencers. People with large followings but zero production knowledge. People who looked good on camera but could not actually build anything. People who would never question technical decisions because they did not understand them. The strategy was obvious. Replace competence with compliance. Replace expertise with loyalty. Replace engineers with performers. And the next major launch was scheduled in 4 weeks. Another massive live stream event. Another attempt to prove the company was stable. Another opportunity for catastrophic failure. Because the systems were still broken. The infrastructure was still unstable. The problems I had warned about were still there. But now there was nobody left who could fix them. Nobody with the expertise. Nobody with the experience. Nobody who understood the systems well enough to prevent disaster. Blake had eliminated everyone who might save him. And he had no idea. No understanding. No awareness of the catastrophe he was building. I watched the countdown. 4 weeks. 28 days. Time running out. And I knew exactly what was going to happen. The only question was whether I would help or watch. HR contacted me 2 weeks later. Professional email. Friendly tone. Claiming they wanted a neutral review of the live stream incident. Claiming they wanted to hear my side. Claiming they wanted fairness and accuracy. I agreed to the call. Partly because I was curious. Partly because I wanted to see what they would ask. Partly because I knew it was a trap. The HR director was smooth. Professional. Sympathetic. Asked about my experience. Asked about my perspective. Asked what I thought went wrong. But during the conversation, she accidentally revealed details she should not have known. Details from executive meetings. Details from private conversations. Details that only senior leadership would know. She mentioned Blake's concerns about my mental health. Something he had only discussed privately. She referenced investor conversations about my role. Something I had never been told about officially. She described internal debates about my future. Discussions I was never part of. I realized immediately. The investigation was fake. They were not reviewing what happened. They were fishing. Trying to discover what evidence I had. Trying to learn what I knew. Trying to assess how dangerous I was. Before we ended the call, the HR director said something revealing. Something threatening. Something Blake had clearly instructed her to say. Blake has mentioned that you're becoming a liability. For your own sake, it might be best to move forward quietly. Without creating more problems. Liability. That was the word. Not former employee. Not consultant. Liability. Someone who needed to be managed. Contained. Neutralized. The message was clear. They were preparing for war. Building defenses. Gathering intelligence. And I was the target. The threat. The problem that needed to be solved. But they had made a mistake. They had revealed their hand. Had shown me they were worried. Had proven I had leverage. And leverage was power. A woman named Victoria contacted me from another state. I did not recognize her name at first. Had to check old company directories. Found her eventually. Former senior producer. Had left abruptly 8 months ago. No explanation. No goodbye. Just suddenly gone. She reached out through Facebook. Through a message that was careful but urgent. Tyler, I saw what happened to you. I know exactly how it feels. Can we talk? We scheduled a call for that evening. She sounded tired. Wary. Like someone who had been through trauma. I left because Blake pushed me out, she explained. Same pattern as you. Questioned a decision. Got isolated. Got blamed for someone else's mistake. Eventually had no choice but to resign. She described how Blake manipulated internal reports. Made her look incompetent. Made her project seem to fail. Made staying impossible. But here's what you need to understand. You're not the first person he muted. Those words hit me hard. Not the first person. Not unique. Not special. Part of a pattern. Part of a system. Part of a long history. There were others before me too. Engineers. Producers. Managers. Anyone who got too much credit. Anyone investors liked too much. Anyone who threatened his control. Before she could tell me names, before she could give me details, before she could explain further, the call suddenly disconnected. Line went dead. No warning. No technical issue. Just silence. I tried calling back immediately. Number was disconnected. Tried messaging her on Facebook. Account was deactivated. Tried emailing. Bounced back as undeliverable. Victoria had vanished. Again. Just like before. And I understood something chilling. Blake was monitoring communications. Was tracking who I talked to. Was shutting down anyone who might help me. The intimidation was escalating. The surveillance was active. The pressure was increasing. And I needed to be more careful. Much more careful. The company announced an even bigger live stream event. 4 weeks away. Exactly as predicted. Marketed as a chance to restore public confidence. Promoted as a redemption moment. Positioned as proof that the company was stronger than ever. The announcement came with a promotional video. Blake speaking confidently. Talking about resilience. Talking about learning from mistakes. Talking about the company's bright future. But internally, according to my anonymous sources, employees were panicking. The infrastructure was still broken. The server issues were still unresolved. The systems were still unstable. Nobody had fixed anything. Because nobody knew how. Because the people who understood the systems were gone. Because Blake had fired everyone with actual expertise. I watched the countdown timer on the company's website. 28 days. Then 25. Then 20. Each day bringing them closer to disaster. Each day making the crash more inevitable. Each day proving I had been right. I quietly began helping former employees gather evidence. Connected people who had been silenced. Shared documentation I had found. Built a network of people who wanted the truth exposed. And I started my new job at the rival company. Better salary. Better culture. Better leadership. Everything Blake's company was not. Meanwhile, Blake posted motivational videos online. Smiling. Confident. Pretending nothing had happened. Pretending the company was thriving. Pretending he was winning. He had no idea. No awareness. No understanding. That everything was about to collapse. And I was going to watch it happen. Not cause it. Not sabotage it. Just watch. While documenting everything. While preparing for the perfect moment. While waiting for the truth to become undeniable. The full recording from launch day leaked online. Not the edited 14-second clip. The complete audio. 20 minutes of everything that happened. Someone had recorded it. Someone had kept it hidden. Someone had waited for the right moment. Now it was everywhere. On YouTube. On Twitter. On every tech news site. Shared thousands of times in hours. For the first time, viewers heard the complete truth. Heard me calmly warning Blake 3 separate times. Heard my specific technical explanations. Heard my attempts to prevent disaster. And they heard Blake. Heard him dismissing my concerns. Heard him mocking my warnings. Heard executives laughing while I tried to explain critical problems. The contrast was devastating. I sounded professional. Concerned. Knowledgeable. Blake sounded arrogant. Dismissive. Ignorant. And then the crash happened. Exactly 47 seconds after he ordered my mic muted. Exactly as I had predicted. Exactly as I had warned. Public opinion flipped instantly. Comments that had mocked me now defended me. Memes that had ridiculed me now celebrated me. People who had dismissed me now understood. The phrase, "mute him," started trending. But not as mockery. As a symbol. A symbol of workplace humiliation. A symbol of leadership failure. A symbol of speaking truth to power. Companies posted about creating safe environments for employees to raise concerns. Leadership coaches used it as an example of toxic management. Business schools discussed it as a case study in organizational failure. Blake had become infamous. His name was now synonymous with bad leadership. His face was a meme representing incompetent executives. His company was associated with silencing employees. Everything he had tried to do to me had backfired. Completely. Publicly. Permanently. And I had not done anything. Had not leaked the recording. Had not organized the campaign. Had not coordinated the response. The truth had simply emerged. And the truth had destroyed him. Blake struck back within days. Posted a tearful video online. Claimed he was the victim. Claimed I had manipulated the recording using AI technology. Claimed the audio had been edited to make him look bad. Claimed he was being unfairly targeted. Some people believed him. Defended him. Said we should wait for more evidence. Said the recording could be fake. Said I was orchestrating a smear campaign. But then things got worse. Got personal. Got dangerous. Anonymous accounts started posting private details about my life online. My home address. My daily routine. Places I went regularly. My mother started receiving harassing phone calls. Unknown numbers. Threatening messages. Accusations that I had raised a son who destroys companies. My landlord received fake complaints. Noise violations. Property damage. Lease violations. All completely fabricated. All designed to create problems. All coordinated to pressure me. I started questioning everything. Started wondering if exposing them was worth this. Worth the harassment. Worth the stress. Worth destroying my peace. For the first time, I considered giving up. Considered walking away. Considered accepting that some battles are not worth fighting. My mother called crying. Said she could not handle the harassment. Said she was scared. Said maybe I should just let it go. And for one night, I almost did. Almost deleted everything. Almost stopped fighting. Almost let Blake win. But then I remembered Victoria. Remembered the others who had been silenced. Remembered that this was bigger than me. That this was about a system. That this was about preventing future victims. And I decided. Not for myself. For them. For everyone who had been muted. For everyone who would be muted in the future. I was going to see this through. No matter what it cost. Amber managed to get me into a private investor Zoom meeting. Used a burner account. Used a fake name. Used a hidden camera feed. I watched silently as Blake's world crumbled. The investors were terrified. Angry. Demanding answers. Advertisers were pulling out. Partners were ending contracts. Revenue projections were collapsing. Blake sat in his home office. Looking smaller than I had ever seen him. Looking desperate. Looking defeated. This will pass, he kept saying. We just need to ride it out. We just need to destroy Noah's credibility fast enough. But one investor interrupted him. Voice cold. Direct. Devastating. Blake, why are all your top employees leaving? Not just Tyler. Everyone. Your entire senior engineering team has resigned in the past month. Your best producers are gone. Your experienced managers have quit. Why? Blake tried to answer. Tried to explain. Tried to deflect. They weren't team players. They couldn't handle the pressure. They were holding us back. Another investor spoke. Or they saw what we're seeing now. That you silence anyone who questions you. That you prioritize your ego over the company. That you fire competent people to protect your image. The meeting continued for another hour. Each minute more brutal than the last. Investors demanding Blake's resignation. Discussing emergency leadership changes. Planning damage control. Blake tried defending himself. Tried blaming external factors. Tried claiming he could fix everything. But nobody was listening anymore. Nobody believed him. Nobody trusted him. I watched through the screen. Watched him lose everything. Watched his empire collapse. And I felt nothing. No joy. No satisfaction. Just tired recognition. That this had been inevitable. That this had always been coming. That the truth always emerges. Eventually. While reviewing old system backups, I discovered something remarkable. I still possessed an emergency access credential. A master key from the early days when I had built the infrastructure. Blake had never revoked it. Had never even known it existed. It did not give me sabotage capability. Could not let me damage anything. Could not be used to harm the systems. But it gave me something else. Visibility. Real-time monitoring. The ability to see exactly what was happening inside their infrastructure. I watched quietly as engineers struggled. Watched servers reaching critical load. Watched systems failing under pressure. Watched the platform dying slowly. They were drowning. Desperately trying to keep things running. Frantically patching problems they did not understand. The launch was 12 days away. And they were nowhere near ready. Error logs were accumulating. System warnings were increasing. Infrastructure stability was decreasing. Every metric showed impending failure. I watched engineers beg for help in internal channels. Watched them admit they did not understand the systems. Watched them plead for Blake to delay the launch. And I watched Blake ignore them. Watched him insist everything would be fine. Watched him demand they work harder. The same pattern. The same arrogance. The same refusal to listen. And I knew exactly what would happen. Knew the launch would fail. Knew the systems would crash. Knew it would be worse than before. Because this time, there was nobody to warn him. Nobody to prevent disaster. Nobody to save him from himself. I had that role before. Had been the person who kept things running. Had been the safety net he never appreciated. Now I was gone. And there was no safety net. Just inevitable catastrophe. Approaching faster with each day. While I watched from the outside. With perfect visibility. With complete understanding. With total clarity about exactly how bad it would be. Blake hosted a live stream Q&A. His attempt to clear his name. His chance to tell his side. His opportunity to restore his reputation. Thousands of people tuned in. Most came to watch him fail. To see him stumble. To enjoy his discomfort. The comment section immediately flooded with clips of him muting me. With links to the full recording. With questions about why employees were leaving. Blake tried to stay confident. Tried to seem unshaken. Tried to project strength. But you could see the cracks. See the strain. See the fear. Midway through the stream, something devastating happened. A former moderator leaked internal chat logs. Messages from the exact moment I was escorted out. Messages that had been deleted from official records. Messages Blake thought were gone forever. The logs showed executives celebrating my removal, joking about my humiliation, laughing about watching me get escorted out. One message from Blake himself finally got rid of the problem. Tyler thought being right mattered more than loyalty. He learned otherwise. The chat logs spread instantly. Screenshot. Shared. Copied. Preserved. Blake's expression changed live on camera. From confident to terrified. From controlled to panicked. From fake smile to genuine fear. He tried to explain. Tried to claim the logs were fake. Tried to say they were taken out of context. But you could see it in his face. Could see him realizing. Could see him understanding. That he was finished. That nothing he said mattered anymore. That the truth had finally caught up. He ended the Q&A abruptly. Claimed technical difficulties. Claimed he would reschedule. But everyone knew. Everyone understood. Everyone saw. Blake Sterling was done. His reputation was destroyed. His credibility was gone. And there was no coming back. Sponsors started withdrawing publicly. Not quietly. Not privately. But with public statements. Announcing they were ending partnerships. Explaining they could not support toxic workplace culture. Distancing themselves from Blake's leadership. Each announcement made news. Each departure damaged the company further. Each withdrawal reduced revenue. Employees began posting resignation letters online. Not submitting them privately. Not leaving quietly. But sharing them publicly. Explaining why they were leaving. Describing toxic culture. Detailing leadership failures. Internal Slack screenshots leaked. Showing managers begging staff not to quit before the launch. Showing executives panicking. Showing the company falling apart. Blake responded by firing 3 people publicly. Posted about it on Twitter. Named them. Claimed they were not team players. Thought it would intimidate others. Thought it would restore control. Thought it would show strength. It had the opposite effect. More workers turned against him. More employees shared stories. More people joined the growing movement. The company was collapsing. Not from external attacks. Not from competitor actions. But from internal rebellion. From employees refusing to stay silent. From workers demanding better. From people who had finally had enough. And I watched it all. Documented everything. Shared information with reporters. Connected former employees. Built a network of people ready to testify. Ready to expose. Ready to ensure the truth was permanent. Not for revenge. Not for satisfaction. But for everyone who came after. For everyone who would face similar situations. For everyone who needed to know. That speaking up matters. That truth matters. That justice exists. Eventually. Victoria finally reconnected. Through encrypted channels. Through secure methods. Through careful communication. I need to tell you something I couldn't say before, she started. Something I was too scared to share. Something that explains everything. She revealed the truth. The real reason Blake hated me. Years ago, investors had wanted me promoted to Chief Technology Officer. Had recognized my value. Had trusted my expertise. Had wanted me in leadership. Blake had blocked it. Had told investors I was not ready. Had claimed I lacked leadership skills. Had insisted he needed more time to evaluate me. But the real reason was simpler. Darker. More honest. He feared losing control. Feared having someone he could not manipulate in a power position. Feared an executive who understood technology better than him. From that moment, Blake had been systematically removing anyone loyal to me. Anyone who respected my work. Anyone who might support my advancement. Slowly. Carefully. Over years. The launch incident was not anger. Was not impulsive. Was not spontaneous. It was calculated. Planned. Executed. A deliberate attempt to destroy my reputation permanently. To ensure I could never threaten him again. To remove me so completely that even investors would not question it. Victoria had discovered this when she was still working there. Had tried to warn others. Had tried to document it. That was why Blake forced her out. Why she left so abruptly. Why she disappeared. She had been too close to the truth. Had seen too much. Had understood the pattern. And Blake had eliminated her the same way. The same process. The same coordination. The same systematic silencing. I was not special. Was not unique. Was just the latest victim. In a long line of victims. Of people who had been muted. Of voices that had been silenced. Of truth that had been buried. Until now. Launch day arrived. The company framed it as their redemption moment. The chance to prove critics wrong. The opportunity to show strength. Behind the scenes, chaos erupted immediately. Half the engineering team had quit in the final week. The remaining staff were inexperienced. The systems were unstable. Emergency protocols were not working. Employees fought openly in production chat rooms. Arguments visible to everyone. Panic spreading. Managers issued contradictory orders. Leadership contradicted themselves. Nobody knew who was actually in charge. The live stream began at 3 p.m. On schedule. On camera. Smiling faces pretending everything was fine. For the first minute, it seemed okay. Seemed stable. Seemed like maybe they would survive. Then the glitching started. Exactly as I had warned months earlier. Exactly as I had predicted. Exactly as I had documented. Audio cutting in and out. Video freezing. Stream buffering constantly. Chat flooding with complaints. Everything falling apart in real time. Engineers desperately tried to fix problems. But they did not understand the systems. Did not know the architecture. Did not have the expertise. Behind the scenes, absolute pandemonium. Servers crashing. Databases failing. Backup systems not responding. Everything I had built. Everything I had maintained. Everything I had kept running for years. All failing simultaneously. Because nobody had fixed the underlying problems. Because Blake had fired everyone who understood them. Because arrogance had replaced competence. The live stream lasted 17 minutes before crashing completely. Black screen. Error messages. Total failure. Worse than the first time. More public. More humiliating. More permanent. And I watched from my new office. Watched their disaster. Watched Blake's failure. Knowing I could have prevented it. Knowing I could have fixed it. Knowing I chose not to. Because some lessons need to be learned the hard way. Because some people need to fail completely. Because some systems need to collapse before they can be rebuilt properly. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer. Almost let it go to voicemail. Almost avoided whatever harassment this was. But something made me pick up. Some instinct. Some curiosity. Some need to know. It was Blake. For the first time ever, he was calling me directly. His voice was different. Completely different. No arrogance. No insults. No contempt. Just panic. Pure panic. Tyler, I need your help. The words sounded wrong. Coming from him. After everything. The platform is completely down, he continued. Voice shaking. Engineering can't stabilize it. Everything is crashing. We're losing everything. He paused. Breathing hard. If we don't fix this by morning, the company is done. Investors will pull out. Partners will leave. We'll lose everything. Hearing fear in his voice felt surreal. Hearing desperation. Hearing him admit need. This man who had muted me. Who had humiliated me. Who had tried to destroy me. Now begging for help. Please, he said. Actually said please. I know I treated you terribly. I know I was wrong. I know I destroyed your career. But I need your help. The company needs your help. Hundreds of people will lose their jobs if we collapse. I said nothing. Let the silence stretch. Let him feel what I had felt. Let him understand powerlessness. I'll do anything, he said finally. Anything you want. Just please help us stabilize the systems. I thought about refusing. About letting him fail. About watching everything burn. Would have been justified. Would have been deserved. Would have been fair. But I thought about the employees. The people who had done nothing wrong. The workers who needed their jobs. The innocent people who would suffer. And I made a decision. Not for Blake. For them. I have conditions, I said. My conditions were non-negotiable. Clear. Specific. Complete. First, every employee who had been fired in the past 6 months gets full severance packages. Generous packages. More than legally required. Everyone Blake had eliminated for questioning him. Everyone who had been forced out for being loyal to me. Everyone who had been silenced. Second, public apologies. Not vague statements. Specific acknowledgements. Blake personally apologizing to me. Blake publicly admitting he ignored my warnings. Blake taking full responsibility. Third, the remaining staff get protection agreements. Job security guarantees. Whistleblower protections. Safe channels for raising concerns. No retaliation for speaking up. Blake agreed to everything. Had no choice. Had no leverage. Had no options. Just please help us stabilize the systems, he begged. I worked remotely. Would not go to their office. Would not set foot in that building. Guided their engineers through encrypted channels. Walked them through emergency procedures. Explained system architecture they did not understand. It took 8 hours. From midnight until 8 a.m. Constant work. Constant problem solving. Constant pressure. But slowly, systems stabilized. Servers came back online. Databases restored. Platform functionality returned. During the entire process, I knew employees were recording. Knew they were documenting. Knew they were capturing every moment of Blake's meltdown. Heard him screaming at executives in the background. Heard him blaming innocent staff. Heard him admitting he should have listened to me. Every word. Every confession. Every moment of desperation. All recorded. All preserved. All ready to be shared. By morning, the systems were stable. The immediate crisis was contained. The company would survive. At least for now. But Blake had revealed himself completely. Had shown his true character under pressure. Had proven everything people suspected. And I had it all documented. Everything he said. Everything he admitted. Everything that would destroy whatever credibility he had left. The event barely survived. Systems held together. Just barely. The remaining live stream limped to completion. Audience reduced by 70%. But technically functional. Blake tried to declare victory. Tried to call it a success. Tried to pretend everything was fine. But immediately afterward, another recording leaked. I did not leak it. Did not distribute it. Did not need to. Employees who had recorded everything shared it themselves. The audio showed Blake screaming at executives. Screaming at engineers. Blaming everyone except himself. And it showed his confession. The words he said when he thought nobody important was listening. I muted Tyler because I couldn't let him look smarter than me. Couldn't let investors see him as the competent one. Couldn't let him have any credibility. I needed him gone before he became too valuable to fire. Those words. That confession. That admission. Spread faster than anything before. Shared thousands of times in minutes. Picked up by major news outlets. Discussed on business networks. Analyzed by workplace experts. Blake had admitted everything. Had confessed to workplace retaliation. Had revealed his true motivations. Had destroyed himself with his own words. This time, there was no defense. No spin. No explanation. He had said it himself. Clearly. Unambiguously. Undeniably. The board announced an emergency review within hours. Scheduled for the next morning. Emergency session. All investors invited. Blake's future would be decided. His role would be evaluated. His leadership would end. Everyone knew it. Everyone expected it. Everyone was just waiting for the official announcement. And I watched it all. Watched the final collapse. Watched the inevitable conclusion. Watched justice arrive. Not because I forced it. Not because I orchestrated it. But because the truth always wins. Eventually. When enough people refuse to stay silent. When enough voices speak up. When enough evidence accumulates. The truth becomes undeniable. And liars lose. Executives resigned one by one over the next week. Not waiting to be fired. Not fighting to stay. Just leaving. Abandoning ship. Trying to distance themselves from Blake. Trying to preserve their own reputations. Trying to find new positions before the company completely collapsed. Investors pulled funding. Major partners ended contracts. Advertisers canceled agreements. The financial collapse was swift. Total. Irreversible. Employees walked out during work hours. Filmed themselves leaving. Posted videos of their exits. Shared their stories publicly. The office that once held 200 people was down to 30. Blake tried posting another apology video. Longer. More emotional. More desperate. Claimed he had learned. Claimed he would change. Claimed he deserved another chance. But comments flooded with clips. Clips of him muting me. Clips of him celebrating my removal. Clips of him admitting his motivations. His own words destroying his apology. His own actions proving he had not changed. His own history making forgiveness impossible. Then the news broke. Official announcement. Press release. Legal statement. The board had voted unanimously. Blake Sterling was being removed as CEO. Effective immediately. No transition period. No farewell tour. Just done. The man who had controlled every voice in the company was suddenly alone. The person who had silenced so many was finally silent himself. The executive who had built an empire on fear and manipulation had nothing left. No company. No credibility. No future. And I watched from my new office. Watched the conclusion. Watched the ending. Knowing I had not caused this. Had not orchestrated his fall. Had simply told the truth. Had simply refused to stay silent. Had simply waited for justice. And justice had come. Slowly. Eventually. But completely. 6 months later, I was thriving at the rival company. Leading a team of 20 engineers. Building systems the right way. Creating a culture where people could speak up. Where technical concerns were valued. Where competence mattered more than ego. Former coworkers who had been too scared to speak out now openly shared their experiences. Published articles. Gave interviews. Testified in workplace culture investigations. Created a movement. The company Blake had built was gone. Sold for parts. Broken up. Distributed. The brand that had been worth millions was worthless. The systems I had built were purchased by my new company. The employees who remained found better jobs. Everything Blake had created had collapsed. Not because I destroyed it. Because it was built on fear. Built on silencing voices. Built on toxic culture. And systems like that always fail. One night, I rewatched the original clip. The 14-second video of Blake muting me. The clip that had started everything. But now the internet saw the full story. Saw the context. Saw the truth. What was supposed to humiliate me had become the evidence that exposed everything. What was supposed to silence me had amplified my voice. What was supposed to destroy me had destroyed him instead. I thought about all the people who had been muted before me. All the voices that had been silenced. All the truth that had been buried. And I understood my responsibility. To keep speaking. To keep exposing. To keep ensuring this never happened again. They had blocked my voice because they thought silence meant weakness. Thought not having a platform meant not having power. Thought muting someone eliminated their influence. But they were wrong. Silence was not weakness. Silence was patience. Silence was preparation. Silence was waiting for the perfect moment. And when that moment came, the truth was undeniable. They had blocked my voice. Then it went viral. And the whole world heard what they tried to hide. Justice was not immediate. Was not easy. Was not guaranteed. But it came. For everyone willing to wait. For everyone willing to document. For everyone willing to believe that truth matters. That speaking up matters. That refusing to stay silent matters. My voice had been blocked. But the message got through anyway. And that message echoed everywhere.